Hi, hold on a minute. I just want to check something on my iPhone, and that's going to be my intro for Vantage Point this episode, because I will be talking about the iPhone killer, and maybe to a larger extent about Apple killers out there, or would-be or wannabes. So I should have two guys, but because tech people, they're always funky and cool in their own way, so I'm going to have one first. Maybe the other guy will join us later. I only have Arshan Ismail for now. He's the co-founder and now also technical director of a tech startup called Nest, or Nest Technology Solutions. Thank you, Arshan, for making time. I just want to start. You see, when I migrated to iPhone, I wanted to straight away migrate to 4S.
Okay.
Because I was resisting iPhone for a while. Because I wanted to see how is it to not be in the trend group.
Yeah, correct.
And from the app and from the day to day, finally it dawned on me that I can't push the day anymore because I can't access and update news from anywhere I want if I don't have stuff like this.
Yeah.
So now there's a lot of discussion on people wanting to kill Apple, wanting to kill iPhones. But is that doable? Then let's go to the other questions. But first and foremost, top of your mind right now, when people come to you and say iPhone killers, is it possible first and foremost?
Not possible.
Why is it not possible?
Because yeah, a lot of people have been trying, and there's always news about iPhone killer, but there has never been someone who's get as close to where the iPhone is right now. Mainly because of the fragmentation of, okay, if you're talking about iPhone killer, iOS, in example, it's supposed to be Android, right? Because that's the next biggest OS that's going to kill the iPhone, right?
Agree.
But Android has never reached
the level
to where iPhone is today, for many reasons, you know, because they don't have a curated app store where all rubbish can go inside the marketplace, you know, where Apple does it differently. So I won't say it's impossible, because, you know, people say last time Apple is impossible for them to get 2% of market share, right?
Yes.
But now they have gone way beyond 2%, you know. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's impossible, but I haven't seen any that's
for
near.
now.
For now,
foreseeable future, you don't see it.
Yeah, I don't see it yet.
The point with discussing this, because there's a big hoo-ha of people talking very, very passionately about Samsung and their smartphone.
Okay.
I mean, the S2 came out and you know, defied a lot of expectations, and a lot of people are resisting iPhone, and they're having S2, for example, and the S3 is coming out. So in this year also, sooner than later, hopefully, we will see iPhone 5. And
October.
Let's put the perspective there. Samsung has to beat iPhone as a product for them to move into the future. So where do you think that battle will go?
Well, they have to match every single thing that iPhone is doing.
But they're doing not bad with S2.
Yeah, they're doing not bad. But here's the thing. Their hardware are maybe at par with iPhone, with Super AMOLED, and then where iPhone has Retina display, you know, and maybe they can do longer battery life than iPhone, you know, and stuff. But the key of why people actually use the iPhone is all the apps. It's actually the OS that is blocking Samsung from taking over Apple. If Samsung had run iOS, in example, right? Because that would never happen.
Yes, of course.
Then maybe Samsung phone sales would be much higher than the iPhone. It can happen.
Yes.
So what I'm saying here now is the OS is the limitation of the other players, you know. So they can never reach out to match the iPhone because of the iOS.
Is it also the end-to-end game? I mean, Apple practically control
everything, the
supply chain,
where
the iPhone or the iPad are concerned. So how do you look at that? Because if you can't beat them, might as well join them. And if Malaysia were to get out of the middle income trap that we are said to be in right now, and if this is the future, so where do we park ourselves? Because we do need to make these value judgments. Because if we're going to go big in startups, we're going to go big in doing applications, then we have to know this landscape and acknowledge the rising trends and the S-curve and park ourselves where we want to be.
Okay, so what you're saying is, what should we do to become what Apple is?
I mean, take advantage of it. If it's going to control a lot of the market, if it's going to change more and more the landscape of mobility, of information, of data.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Apple doesn't want to share whatever they've done the ecosystem with other people, because they know they can profit everything by controlling this ecosystem, right?
Agreed.
So for us, I mean, for Androids or other manufacturers, whoever who wants to join Apple, it's quite impossible because Apple say no. They want to control the hardware, they want to control the software.
So we are just application developers?
That's you're just developing. Even if you develop on iPhone, you have to follow their specific rules.
Yes.
The button has to be here.
But might as well, right? Because they,
they
are the biggest right
correct.
now.
That's why a lot of developers are firstly develop on iOS. They will go for iOS first. If they want to test the market, because iOS developers is hard to hire, they would start doing web app first and to test the market whether it works or not. Then they'll slowly hire a company to build their iOS development for them.
I put this topic out onto ASTRO Awani's Twitter and my own Twitter, and Reza, he's another founder, you know him, right? Tratotech Wayne Bangi. He said that they can get 80% market share, but they won't get 80% profit because Apple will still be holding on to the majority of profit because of all that we've discussed. How do you look at that?
Well, what do you mean?
I mean, you know, other people can come and get into the market share of Apple, but they're not going to get the amount of profit that Apple will be generating.
Actually, in terms of the hardware sales, of course, Apple will take all the money, right? But in terms of apps, developers are sharing with Apple 70-30, where developers keep 70%. So that's quite a lot of...
that's quite okay.
Yeah.
So even if Samsung can get into the market share of smartphones, devices and all, but the margin of profit will still be Apple laughing all the way to the bank because they control everything else.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, let's go for the first commercial break a bit early because my other guest is here. So we're going to break this open a bit more because we're not just looking at whether Apple will survive or Samsung will be the next. But we want to look at how Malaysia, looking at the tech companies, looking at the technopreneurs around, how do we look at this and what do we do about it? Because we don't want to be thinking about this once Apple has been killed and another name comes out. That will be too late. So we must move with the time. So what's the best way to take advantage of all this for our relatively new tech arena in the country? That we'll discuss after this short break. Hi, you're still watching Vantage Point. I'm still here talking about who's going to kill Apple. No, actually it's just a jest because actually I want to take advantage of this discussion to really focus and give highlight to the technopreneurs, to the people around the tech companies in Malaysia. And of course we don't have a Silicon Valley per se, but it is rising and it is getting more and more vibrant. I've been following this area in our country for more than 1 decade, and I think there have been a lot of progress achieved, but sometimes they're a bit under the radar because they live the alternative lifestyle. You see, I have to be dressed decently, but they can wear jeans and t-shirt and they can come in the second block. And with that, I would like to introduce Samuel Tan, who's actually a public relations practitioner, but very much involved in the techie world of Malaysia. And he's the co-founder of MobileFest. I'll just let you make a brief intro of what MobileFest is.
Yeah, so MobileFest started by 3 of us. We all from different type of industry. So myself from PR industry. So I have another person who is a hermatologist, a doctor, and another person who works in the telco industry. We all come together. We started this group known as MobileFest. We meet once a month. We are all volunteers.
Not a typical startup group or gang, right?
Yes, sort of, because we share the common interest in terms of gadgets.
Does the group have a view on whether there's a killer for iPhone or iPad
or
Apple itself?
The interesting thing in this group is that for myself, I'm pretty much an Apple fan. And whereas the doctor, he's a Web OS fan. I mean, now you seldom hear about Web OS for Palm. Yes. So then the other person, Cairo, he's the BlackBerry. So when we come together, you can see on the table is the different gadgets. But the interesting thing is that we are able to share the the common view, because the whole thing, what we want to do on our this Mobile Fest, we want people to know how the technology can actually help people. Okay. It's not just have fun, show off, things like that, but it's the actual usage.
That's where I want to come from, because if we were to ever be a developed nation with developed nation thinking,
yes,
so we can't just be users.
Yes,
even if we are users, we must be value-added users.
Yes,
so
that's true.
How do you look at this all this trend, mania, people queuing up to buy the latest iPad, but we don't want it to stop there, because if we were to spend a lot on that, you know, to a lot of the average in countries like us, it's 60% of our disposable income if we migrate onto the Apple platform, for example. So how do we maximize the potential, and how do you see the strategic use? Maybe not many people are aware. It's like we have very powerful car, what we're just using second and third gear, for example.
Yeah, that's why during the meetings, we always have people who are the experienced users. So we have the Apple group of users, because you see, Mobile Fest is very neutral. Although all of us have different interests in terms of the what we like. So we have this group of people who come, like last week we actually have a meeting, and we have this guy, he shown everything Apple. Okay. Then we have another person who came and showed everything Android. Yeah. Then after the meeting, you can hear you have these two groups of people. We were having coffee. Although we were like quite annoyed during the discussion, because it's like, how come you say Apple can do more, or the iOS can do more than Android? My Android long ago already can do this thing. No, we have this kind of people. But you are right, because quite often when people have the smartphones in Malaysia, they don't use 100% of the features.
I feel a bit of ouch, but it's okay, go ahead.
Like for example, in terms of the iPhones, just now I was at a meeting, there I just realized on the table, wow, 80% are Android. More so is a Samsung. Yeah, and I just realized many of the people are using it texting, call, and probably browse, or maybe Facebook. Yeah, but they don't use more than that. There are actually more things that they can do on the...
So are they going gaga over the coming S3?
I suppose.
Maybe by the time we're discussing this on air, it's already out, but...
Yeah, it's because Samsung it's definitely the leader in terms of the coming out with all these the Android platform, because the last the Nexus was actually produced by Samsung. I mean, being the first Nexus was produced by HTC. Yeah, so now we have the Samsung. Yes, and through Mobile Fest we also have the opportunity talking to people from Samsung as well, and then we realized it's a very visionary company.
Yes. That's where I'm going to go from. I'm going back to Ness here, Arshan, and it's sometimes the thinking, the idea, because if Apple were to dominate for like 20 years, people say, yeah, it's only logical, man. They had Steve Jobs, they were there, the Mac were there in the 70s, and you know, second coming of Steve Jobs back into Apple, bringing all these new ideas, you know. They've done all that. But Samsung, look, we hardly have history of Samsung and tech. We have history of Samsung doing LCDs or whatever, but we hardly ever talk about Samsung like we talk about Apple. So the shift from the first world developed nation of the West, now for even Samsung to be quoted in the same breath as Apple, to me, is already a lot of jump for a company that came out of Korea, which shared a lot of similarity with Malaysia in terms of economic and technology progress in the 60s and 70s. But now they're almost there. So there's hope for us, because the knowledge, the technology, the know-how, the skills, people on this side of the world, not even the far side of Asia, it's a few hours flight to Seoul, and in the east of Asia, where we are adapting this technology very fast. So where are we in this?
Well, you have to see what you're talking about, because Samsung is a hardware manufacturer, right? Because the key of the user experience of the phone or the OS is the OS. The OS still comes from the US. So, yeah, if you see Asian OS, the ones that knock off China phone, right? The UI is not really intuitive. So it's a bit hard to argue in this thing, this section, because the Samsung, of course, they are making the phones, but they are using the
whatever's inside is
still dependent on
where it came from.
Firstly.
Sam, how do you look at that?
Yes. Okay. In terms of Samsung, Okay, let's forget about Samsung as a mobile phone manufacturer.
All right.
Okay, Samsung is a well-known electrical household electronic products manufacturers for some years, and I think with that, right, they have some advantage in terms of when you mention the word Samsung. When they have the phone, you have more confidence compared to maybe some other brands. Okay, and also they provide a almost like totally integrated kind of. They are going to for the Android experience. Okay, an example is that soon we're going to have our oven and our fridge by Samsung, powered by Android.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, because I think beginning of the year we have already seen those trends. I think we also have the similar.
So we will
discussion,
know over our Android smartphone what we have to buy at the Carrefours or the Tesco.
Yes, or they might intelligent enough because I think soon our mobile phones might also integrate with the NFC, things like that. So I think soon the fridge might already order the stuff for us.
Near field communication for you and I who's not so initiated in this. But is that the way to go? Make the playground bigger than what Apple has already controlled.
Yeah.
Linking it to mobility and the smartness of devices.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's quite a good move because Android is open source.
Yes.
I mean, some of it are open source, some of it are closed source. So opening up to other devices, it's quite a good move actually, because you're just spreading it out. Because there will never be an oven with a Apple iOS inside it.
I want to give tribute to my colleague called Cherish because she's the one who pushed me to have this kind of discussion because she kept asking that. She's worried that our best brain in tech, they are all going to move outside the country. So what's going to happen inside us? Well, I keep telling her that, what's the worry? The world is network anyway. But she said, no, some must stay here in Malaysia. So if all that we have discussed, very exciting, especially for the younger generation. This is where a lot of them want to be, working or even doing business. I don't have to makan gaji or, wait for salary at the end of the month. This is the new 21st century lifestyle. So where do we park ourselves? Again, I want to ask this question because there's hardly a role model like Steve Jobs in Malaysia. It's easier if you want to be accountant, lawyer, doctor because you can pick them out and I can follow that pathway. But for tech, who do we look at and what do we do? We cannot Xerox cut and paste anybody's secret in Malaysia for that. There are other companies who in the 90s, but for now, what would your advice be?
Well, I think you can look at successful Malaysian startups. I've known a few. Founder of Sales.com, and then my ex-boss was Ganesh from Friendster, MOL. So those are the kind of people that we can get advice from, because they have gone through all the startup experience since the beginning, right? So those are kind of role model you can get, and you can try to get advice from them, what works and what not. Yeah, and also they will give you like advice in terms of
where do you think we are as if the benchmark is Silicon Valley.
All right.
Not in terms of only area, but in terms of thinking, in terms of skills of coding and coding, in terms of venture capital, availability of funds and all those. Where would you put us? If they are 10, where are we right now? No, I mean, to be honest about it.
I would say 3.
Okay, Samuel? These are among the things that you talk about, right?
Yeah. I think we are halfway there, but we are not totally there yet. The reason is because we still have a lot of potential. Many of the best brain, we still need to nurture them. Yeah, but I think like what Nash said, that we do have very talented people in Malaysia. Like for example, yesterday I just saw on my one of the MobileFest friends. He has been invited to the Google I/O. Yeah, those are like seldom you have those kind of invite. It's like they really pick those guys. Yeah, so he is one of them, and we all like cheering. Wow, finally we have a Malaysians going for that. But coming from the Mac user group in Malaysia, we also in the past we have one or two of them. Also being invited to join the WWDC, the World
Worldwide Developer Conference.
Yes, those are like the premier conference for the Mac developers. Yes, we also have those type of people, but I think we need to nurture them, and also for the younger generation, we also need to motivate and encourage them as well. Yes, there are opportunities. Sometimes maybe they need to brave, and then sometimes you take the initiative. Yeah, that's why when I talk to our children, I also want them to don't be shy. It's okay. Maybe dad will scold you or put you down, but the whole thing is that they must have the spirit of moving on. Yeah, that's the most important.
Ashan, the best advantage for us Malaysians moving forward in this. Of course, we don't have like what the Americans have, but we have to look at what we have and build on it.
I think the best advantage being in Malaysia is nothing is being built yet. So there's always opportunity for you to come and become the first player there. So that's the advantage. If
you're in blue ocean everywhere.
Yeah, correct. If you're in Silicon Valley, every single idea that people can think of is being done somewhere. You know? So, but in Malaysia, that the big advantage is that every single thing that you think, you can try.
And you have done it. You have proved by yourself. Samuel, before we end, you know, where do you think this should go? Should we make this mainstream? Because now I have this bugging feeling that we still look at tech as the geeks arena, and it's an alternative lifestyle rather than pushing it to the mainstream.
Yes. We still have a lot to do, but I think we are already at a level where now more and more people are leaving behind, including probably, I think, my elder brother, who doesn't believe in smartphone, but he also moving into Android, because he told me, hey, it's so easy to use. Yeah, I think we are at a good start. Although we are way behind probably countries like Singapore, where I think most people are already quite exposed to this. Yes, but we are halfway there. We still have the opportunities, and I think also even our government are also quite encouraging. But another thing I want to add is that I think some of the brands, I wouldn't name them, they do allocate funds for people who have great ideas, especially developing apps, and then help them to start. And also I think last year, I remember I was reading it, one of the international electronic brands, they actually fund Malaysian developers to develop brand new operating system.
I hear ideas, I hear talent, I hear funds. So that's enough for a start. More than enough, actually. Thank you, Arshan. Thank you, Samuel. We'll have to continue discussion. So sorry, we didn't actually answer whether there's an Apple killer, iPhone killer, iPad killer, but this is just to throw the discussion, skew you towards thinking that, hey, this is an area that's rather underdeveloped right now with a lot of things to consider, but we are there and we are getting there, and we all have to do something about it. So over to you, Cherish. Continue this in whatever form. I will support you on this, and thank you so much for watching Vantage Point. Go to Facebook, go to Twitter. You can add in your own comment to ASTRO Awani. Goodbye. Thank you.